Hello, Cybrary. My name is Dean Pompilio, otherwise known as Polymath, and I'd like to welcome you to the Advanced Cyber Threat Intelligence course. Some of you may recall that I produced an introduction to cyber threat intelligence back in early 2017. Now, if you haven't watched the introductory course, I urge you to stop watching this course and go watch the introductory course. That's important because there are several concepts and principles that were described and detailed in that course that help build on the information and knowledge that you need in order to tackle the advanced course. We're going to go into a little bit more detail on some of these topics and look at some different tools and such, and it's better to have that background foundation already in place. That being said, I hope you'll enjoy this Advanced Cyber Threat Intelligence course, or CTI. We're going to cover quite a few different topics, and we'll look at some different online resources, some tools, some websites, and give the practitioner a better understanding of how to integrate this capability within their organization, or if it's already there, how to improve upon the existing infrastructure. So the first module that we'll get into is the Cyber Threat Intelligence Maturity Model. You can see this has 5 levels, starting at 0 where you don't know what you're doing yet, moving up to level 1 where you've got some experience and you've got a little bit of information to work with. Then getting to level 2 where the capacity for cyber threat intelligence will be expected to expand. And this is something that should be anticipated and managed by the analyst. Because as the organization begins to reap the benefit of increased monitoring and improved incident response, getting better threat feeds and so on, inevitably there will be areas of the organization that would require this kind of interaction that may not already be getting that benefit. Once the program exists at level 3, then the organization is probably staffed all of the appropriate roles, and the responsibilities have been well defined so that the analysts can understand their job functions very well, and perhaps the reporting structure is already well established, and other pieces of infrastructure have been integrated well enough with CTI so that you can move to the last step, which is when the program becomes stable. When it's stable, then that means everybody's doing their jobs and you're getting repeatable results with actionable intelligence that the organization can then consume and make the appropriate actions. The next module deals with campaigns as they relate to open source threat intelligence. So we'll spend some time describing what it means to do pivoting. In a general concept, it can be done in lots of different ways. Pivoting off a domain name, pivoting off a piece of malware, pivoting off a compromised system. These are all different characteristics of the pivoting concept. We'll also look a little bit at what your adversary infrastructure might look like and how you can learn the appropriate details in order to better defend against various forms of attack. We'll look a little bit at virus total and other aspects of malware as it relates to open source intelligence. There's a lot of great resources available. Many of them are free, and this can certainly help the analyst be able to better understand how they're being affected by malware that's in the wild, so to speak. We'll spend a little bit of time also on the visualization of the data that's being gathered. Anything from using something simple like a spreadsheet or more advanced tools, which we covered in the introductory course, such as Multigo. So we'll revisit Multigo and see some of its capabilities as it relates to visualization. Then we'll dive into the concept of campaigns. How do you describe the campaign? What characteristics does it have? The tactics, techniques, and procedures of your adversary should be understood. We'll get into why that's important as well. Even the naming of a campaign and proper documentation. We'll see how that's important because that information may need to be searchable at a later date, and you want to be able to use descriptive terminology that is consistent within your organization. Like any large-scale effort, there will inevitably be some sort of metrics involved. The metrics can provide great information to the people higher up on the chain, the decision makers, trying to give them an understanding of whether or not the effort is being effective, if the funds that have been expended for the CTI program, are they well spent? Are they getting some expected benefit from that? And we'll talk a little bit about heat maps as another tool to convey this information in an easily understood manner. The next module deals with sharing the threat intelligence information in the context of operations. This deals also with where the information is stored. Several different vendors have their online product suites, and the information may be stored with them, it may be stored with the customer. There could be a balance of those two capabilities as well. So how do you manage those storage requirements, not only in terms of capacity, but in terms of access controls and other things like protecting confidentiality with encryption and so on. Then we'll move on to tactical sharing, which in a nutshell is describing who needs the information and what is their need to know, what is their right to know. So trying to understand the balance between producers of intel and the consumers of intel. We'll get into Yara a little bit, as well as some other technologies and methodologies a little bit later. Within the sharing of information within your operations, we can also think about who is the organization partnered with, who are they collaborating with, how is the government potentially involved, or maybe you're already working for the government and you're trying to better understand the protocols and methodologies that are expected to be in use. We'll get a little bit into Cybox, Sticks, and Taxi. I'll talk more about what that is later. And that gives a better overall feel for some of the sharing concepts.